The Afghan government has decided not to open more than 900 voting stations during next month's parliamentary election, citing security concerns. The closures will affect nearly 15% of the country's 6,835 polling stations and could disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of voters. Unfortunately, from the total of polling stations we had discussed with security forces, we have to accept this bitter fact that some 938 polling centers will remain closed due to security. Many of the affected locations are in southern and eastern Afghanistan. The list of closures was reviewed over the weekend by Afghan President Hamid Karzai and U.S. General David Petraeus, the commander of NATO forces in Afghanistan. More than 2,500 candidates are competing for 249 seats in Afghanistan's lower house of parliament on September 18th. Staffan de Mistura, the senior United Nations envoy in Afghanistan, said last week that insecurity would affect the election, saying, quote, "We all know that security challenges will be a significant obstacle, and we must ensure that poor security in parts of the country is not used to manipulate the votes of the people." The concern is that this year's ballot will suffer many of the same problems that marred last year's presidential vote. Observers complained about dozens of ghost polling stations, which were closed to voters because of security concerns, but still reported results back to Kabul. Those results were overwhelmingly favorable to President Karzai. Election officials eventually discarded more than 1 million votes, but not until after allegations of fraud had marred the legitimacy of the election. Abdullah, Karzai's chief rival, lobbied unsuccessfully to have a list of the ghost stations released to the public. Many of those polling places were reportedly in southern and eastern Afghanistan, the same areas affected by this year's closures.